Hello everyone and welcome to the MMA Take Podcast episode number 4 where we will be discussing and previewing UFC Fight Night Liverpool and also Bellator London, which is also known as Bellator 200, and just a shitload of more news. So without any further ado, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I know it's been a while since I've done a podcast. I apologise, but I'm back now. And yeah, looking forward to this fight card. This is gonna be this is big. Obviously, me being from England, from the UK. You know, it's just nice. It's just nice to have a fight card that we don't need to stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning to watch. It's just nice to have just our own shit going on for once. But yeah, nevertheless, let's stop fuffing around. Wherever you're listening this to, whether that be YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, wherever you guys are listening to us from, I greatly appreciate it. If you enjoyed the episode, give us a like, show us the appreciation, and yeah, just that's it. Yeah, I appreciate it. But no, I've fucked off now for like a minute. Let's just get on to some fight news because that's what you guys are here for, right? Right. Without any further ado, let's just crack on to this fight night card. Now this is UFC Fight Night at Liverpool. It's on a Sunday. Obviously, if any of you know from England or Europe, wherever you guys listen to this from, there's a big football game or soccer game, wherever you're from, on the Saturday, hence why this is on the Sunday. Normally, you don't really get UFC cards on a Sunday, but this is on a Sunday, and it is. You know what? It's okay. It's an okay card. I suppose the main event just makes up for everything. Really looking forward to that main event. Obviously, the welterweight division is so messed up. This could 100% be a potential, title contender match, but obviously, you'd expect Darren Till to have a few more fights if he does win this before he gets the belt. And Wonderboy Thompson fought for the belt twice now, and we know how those two fights had went. So not the most entertaining fights, but nevertheless, there were fights. But it'll be interesting to see if he wins this fight. But let's just since I'm talking about it and already started, let's just break down. I'm only going to break down a few fights. Just a couple of names to look out for those that you'll be watching on a Sunday. So some of the fights to look out for is the first match on the UFC on the prelims. Not on the early prelims, on the normal prelims. So it is this fight is, hold on, just wait for it to fucking load. It is Gillian Robertson versus Molly Meatball McCann. So obviously anyone who watches Cage Warriors and is a big fan of them, you'll recognise Molly from obviously from Cage Warriors. She was recently the strawweight champion. She only just won the belt pretty recently and got called up to fight in UFC Liverpool, where she's originally from, on her UFC debut. That is perfect. That's just fantastic, and she's such a beast. I've seen her fight. She's a machine, and she'll go. I feel like she'll be, a confident top tenner in the UFC throughout her career. She'll be in that top 10 for a while, just because on her skill. She's fantastic to watch. She's great on her feet. Phenomenal jiu-jitsu as well. She won the belt, I believe, off an armbar. So, she's fantastic. Her record is 7-1. So she's definitely someone to look out for. Another guy I'd recommend everyone to watch, or just this fight in general, is Daniel Kelly versus Tom Breeze. Now, this is a fan-fucking-tastic middleweight fight. It is, trust me, Dan Kelly, Australia, he's had some big, not big named fights, but, the fights that he's fought in, they are on the prelims, but they're always just slobber knockers, man, I swear. They're always just fucking absolutely just beating a piss out of each other for a good five minutes, and if you make it to the second round, we're going at it again for 5 minutes. He's fantastic to watch. He's 13-3, and Tom Breeze is an Englander who's another, obviously, another fantastic fighter. But I'd say the one to watch out for here is Daniel Kelly in this fight. Tom Breeze is fantastic, with a record of 10-1, but I can't I just, Tom Breeze is phenomenal. Most of his wins coming through submissions. Um, so if it goes to the ground, I feel like Kelly will, you know, could be in trouble. But on the feet, Kelly all day. Literally, he's a fucking beast, man. He's fantastic to watch and always fun to watch. And even the where is it? The fourth fight on the main card is Jason Knight versus Makwan Amir Khani. Amir Khani is fantastic. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's in the featherweight division, and Jason the Kid Knight is just a fucking beast. I swear to God, he's just a fucking, like, when you think of Savage, there's a few fighters that come up in mind, and he's definitely one of them. One of the more underrated and not known fighters, but obviously that's what you guys come here for. Jason the Kid Knight with a record of 20 wins and 4 losses, so a championship level really. If you're just looking at his record, the numbers there, that's championship level. But obviously, his his level of competition that he's been fighting at hasn't been the highest. But I seriously, this Amir Khani and Jason Knight, this is potential fight of the night. Obviously, with the main event being as good as it is, but if Taylor Thompson somehow is a ball fest, this is going to be your guarantee. Featherweight, just absolute fantastic fight. It's just going to be entertaining. Amir Khani, fantastic at submissions. Jason the Kid Knight, also fantastic at submissions. So they're cancelling each other out. They're both pretty decent on the feet, but both of them you could say to some sort submission specialist. So that is going to be a fuckload of fun. Predictions, I'll probably go with as much as I like Jason Knight, I probably will go for Amir Khani. He's on the up. He's just got the momentum at the moment. He just has. He's just got the momentum at the moment, and he'll probably win. Maybe a decision, but I don't really see the fight really going to decision. But I don't know. Maybe a decision. That's the worst sentence ever. Maybe a decision, even though I don't see it as going to a decision. Fuck's sake. No. Let me be decisive. Amir Khani submission 3rd round. Boom. There you go. There is my betting prediction. I swear to God. Anyway, coming up to the co-main event. Now this co-main event had so much potential. It was going to be Neil Magny versus Gunnar Nelson, which would have been fucking amazing, but no. Instead, we got a localer from Liverpool, known as Craig White. I don't really know much about the fella. Boy, he's got 17 wins and 14 wins and 7 losses. Not the best of records, really, but again, a bit more of a submission specialist. A lot of his wins coming through submissions. And he'll be going, obviously, against Neil Magny. Now, imagine if this fella comes in, Craig White, unknown, very unknown, comes in co-main event, UFC Liverpool. He is a Liverpool lad. And beats 9th world ranked in the welterweight division, Neil Magny. What an opportunity this is for Craig White in his hometown, home country. He really does need to make the most of this. If he could pull off an upset victory against Neil Magny, who hasn't looked the best recently, but he's looked okay. Nothing too special. If we look at his his last fights, if we just start 2016, it was a loss to Lorenz Larkin, and then he beat Johnny Hendricks at the end of 2016, but obviously that's a fucking broken down old ass Johnny Hendricks that I'm sure didn't even make the he didn't even make weight that day. And just to add in insult to injury, that was a not 100% Johnny Hendricks, and it went to a unanimous decision, so he wasn't even able to knock him out. bit of a shame. Then he got beaten the piss out of him by Rafael dos Santos in September 2017, and then again at the end, in the end of 17 on the December card, he beat Carlos Condit. But again, that's a Carlos Condit that was coming back off a massive layoff. He wasn't even sure if he wanted to fight anymore, if he wanted to retire. He was just taking a fight for the sake of taking a fight. So genuinely, I'm gonna go with this being potential upset of the night, and I know that Till is an underdog, but if you want an even bigger underdog, you parlay and you acca these two together. You put Craig White and you put um Till together. But honestly, I don't really think that's gonna happen. I feel like Neil Magny just is a bit more. He just needs to just realize that he's better than this kid. This kid is, he's just fought in Cage Warriors, undefeated in Cage Warriors, with 3 submissions and 1 knockout. Having 3 fights in 2017 and 1 this year in March, so a relatively short comeback. But obviously, again, it is a short notice fight. How ready is this Craig White? Normally, you get these kind of fights, and the person that comes in on short notice is just a bit better and somehow just harnesses it and takes advantage and seizes the moment more than the guy that was in the full training camp. So that could potentially happen, but I think like the skill difference is just so big. I'm gonna have to go with Neil Magny with this. Probably it'll go. He should be knocking this kid out, but I highly doubt it. It'll probably be a I think it'll be decision. It'll be decision. I can't see Neil Magny hasn't really looked like knocking anyone out, but I don't know, mate. Yeah, I feel like this kid will be up for it and push Magny to his paces. Magny he's the much better fighter, but I haven't really seen much of this Craig White fella to make a proper decision. But obviously, just having some form of knowledge, I'd probably go with Neil Magny for the win there. And now finally we get on to the main event: Darren Till versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Now, the one thing I do want to say about this is if we're comparing resumes, right, which a lot of people do in MMA, and I'm going to put these two fellas side by side for myself so I can just quickly figure it out. Right. First, you've got Wonderboy, right? Now, I'll talk about Darren Till first. I will talk about Darren Till first. Darren Till's resume is shit. But that last fight against Donald Cerrone, he really has got an unknown, real unknown resume. You just haven't fought anyone else of note bar Donald Cerrone. He really did come out of fucking the hat, just out of nowhere. This is another thing that I want to bring up, right? In the UFC, Darren Till has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fights. Okay, but just excluding the Donald Cerrone fight, Darren Till's had 4 fights in the UFC, right? 1 was a draw. His first fight in the UFC was at elbows, but that was in 2015. That was a knockout via elbows, but again, 2015, a long time ago. Then he had the draw again in 2015, and then his next fight wasn't until May 2017 and September 2017, where both of those wins were coming through unanimous decisions. So he didn't really have, what everyone thought Darren Till of, when he fought Cerrone was this big beast who had so much knockout power and he bum rushes people and he's so, it's so easy for him to knock people out. I as much as I'm a Darren Till fan, I wouldn't really say that. I feel the Donald Cerrone win was more of a Donald Cerrone not taking Darren Till seriously, and hence why he lost that fight. Other than you know. And obviously, of course, Darren Till just turned up that day. He was his best self. But I think a big part of that was that Donald Cerrone wasn't exactly the best Donald Cerrone that we've seen. That wasn't, he was just a Donald Cerrone that didn't even watch tape on this guy. He didn't know anything about him. So I don't feel like I feel like you can't really take that win with so much emphasis as some people are. And as much as I'm breaking this down and I will contradict myself, but I'm being honest. There is a big proportion of people that are overhyping Darren Till. They really are. Other than that Donald Cerrone fight, he's fought nobodies, had some decisions, and a draw and a knockout in the UFC, and then fought Donald Cerrone. And let's be honest, he really won that fight because of he was, Donald Cerrone just not really taking that fight too seriously, and Donald Cerrone not being prepared. If Donald Cerrone had done what normal people do, that's just not the Donald way, obviously. But if he studied Darren Till, I don't think Darren Till would have been landing that left hook. And hey, it is what it is. That fight's been and gone now. But that's just my honest opinion. I feel like that win was more of a lack of Cerrone more than an amazing Darren Till. And then you've got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who has been in the UFC for absolute years, and if you look at his resume, it's ridiculous. I'm talking wins over current middleweight champion Robert Whittaker, wins over Jake Ellenberger, Johnny Hendricks, Rory McDonald, and his most recent win against Jorge Masvidal. That is a fantastic win to have. Now, did those two fights against Tyron Woodley really knock the stock of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson? Yeah, it did. It really did. It really, really did. That win over Jorge Masvidal, though, that was a big, big boost. I don't feel like enough people took that too seriously, because that fight was on the UFC 217, which is where you had Rose beating Joanna. You had the Dillashaw Garbrandt fight for the belt, and obviously Dillashaw beating that. And then you obviously had Bisping versus GSP. And all three champions there losing their belts in one night. No one really expected that. All the underdogs really, I'm sure, won that fight. Yeah, maybe by GSP. I think GSP might have been a favourite, but all the champions there losing that fight. And I feel like that Jorge Masvidal win for Stephen Thompson was it's got kind of like brushed under the rug under this amazing event that was stacked, and he just didn't get the publicity what he deserved for that win, because that's such a big win. Jorge Masvidal is not an easy guy to beat. He's such an unorthodox, awkward fighter to beat. He's a brawler. He likes fighting in the pocket. Obviously, Thompson likes fighting at a distance, and I feel like that could be the potential same thing here, where Darren Till likes to rush you, likes to get in close. He can fight at somewhat of a range, but he is more comfortable in the shorter range, getting up and close in the pocket, laying those big hooks and those kicks to the body. And obviously Stephen Thompson, we all know how he likes to fight at a length, keeping the distance, controlling the distance with those amazing leg kicks. He is a fantastic karate practitioner. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, in the UFC. He's fantastic, so he's very able to control the distance. But I do just seeing Darren Till harnessing the chance that he's in his hometown. UFC have done this for him, and also I feel like a massive part of this fight is that Darren Till is one big motherfucker. He depletes himself to get to 170, but by the time he's in the cage, he's a 190. That is an increase of 20 pounds. That's so much. That's, when you're in the octagon, that's not a 170 pound fighter punching at you. That is a 190 pound beast coming at you. And I feel like he will get the knockout. And I feel like Darren Till will win by knockout. Honestly, I feel like he'll just harness this the situation that he's in, harness the opportunity, take, grab that brass ring or that golden ring, whatever the fucking saying is. He's gonna beat him. He's gonna win by knockout. I'm not just saying that due to bias. I honestly, truly believe that Wonderboy will obviously try to keep it at a distance, and that's the only way he can win this fight. I feel like he'll struggle with Darren Till's pressure. Darren Till isn't the shortest fighter in the world. He's still got a bit of a distance in him too, and is very, very capable of taking a punch and also dishing one out and closing the distance, fighting in the pocket, fighting how he wants to. And if he gets the opportunity, which I believe he will, to control the fight at the pace and the distance which he will want, it's Darren Till's night. It's Darren Till's night anyway. It is set up to be Darren Till's night. For God's sake, they're going to UFC Liverpool. They've never been to Liverpool before. They've never had an intention going to Liverpool before. Here they are. It's set up for him to win, and I feel like he will take it. He will take it. And yeah, boom. That is it. 100%. That is my prediction. That is going to be a big, big, big fight. I am really looking forward to it. But yeah, I say Darren Till by knockout. He gets the nod. I'm so looking forward to this. It's unbelievable. And yeah, that is everything for UFC Fight Night 130 in Liverpool, England. And next, I want to quickly just go over Bellator 200, which is also in London, but I believe is on the Friday, as Bellators normally are. A lot of American Bellator fans are pretty pissed about this, seeing that it's a Bellator 200. That's a big milestone to hit. 200 big productions. Obviously, they're not pay-per-views, but they're big for Bellator. So honestly, the fact that it's in England, and hence that because it's in England, they get it via tape delay in the US. So it's so easy just to go on the fucking internet, on Twitter, and the results are there. So it's interesting that they've gone and done that. But this fight card is pretty decent. Is it better than UFC one? Oh, fucking, it would have been. It would have been. Obviously, I'll talk about this in the news, but it was the main event was meant to be Roy Nelson versus Mirko Cro Cop, which would have been fucking phenomenal. And what a fight that could have been. Alongside with this also pretty decent main card as well. You have Phil Davis fighting. You've also got Michael Venom Page fighting, which he's one of Bellator's biggest stars. 12-0, just a big name. They really like to push him. His first fight back in MMA since that fantastic boxing performance not long ago. And then you have the main event, but which was meant to be the co-main event, which is Rafael Carvalho, which is the current Bellator middleweight world champion, versus Gegard Mousasi. Now, what a fight this is going to be. I've wanted to see Gegard Mousasi fight for so long. It feels like he hasn't fought for ages. It has been a while since he has fought. And geez, I'm just looking forward to this fight so much. This fight card could have been so much better with the the Roy Nelson and Cro Cop fight, but Cro Cop had to pull out. And also that Cro Cop fight, I'm breaking into the news, and it was one of the news. I'll save it for the news. I'll keep you guys on suspense. I'll talk about that in a bit, but you've got Mousasi record. Do we even need to talk about Gegard Mousasi too much? It's fucking Gegard Mousasi beating the best of the best, really. Thiago Santos, Vitor Belfort, Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, even Alexander Shlemenko in Bellator is one of the best up there. If you make a top 15 of the world, 185ers, excluding promotions just in general, Alexander Shlemenko is up there. He's a fantastic fighter. He got a unanimous decision win there, and now he's going against the champion Rafael Carvalho, which I'll be honest, don't really know too much about. But out of his 15 wins, 12 knockouts, which is damn. He has beaten. You know what? He's got some big names on his on his resume, a pretty decent, 15 wins, 1 loss. And that first loss, that only loss of his is actually the first fight of his career. So after losing his first fight of the career, has gone on an absolute blitz since 2012 and just gone undefeated, beating the likes of Sergio Souza, who's Jacare Souza's brother. Um, you've got Joe Schilling, Melvin Manhoef, who is fantastic, twice. So, you know, fantastic. One was a split decision, and then one was a knockout via head kick, which is damn. Um, so honestly, this is gonna be a great fight. Honestly, my money, and obviously it will be on Gegard Mousasi. It's Gegard Mousasi. He's just too good. Um, he came to Bellator to win the belt, and once he's won the belt, he wants to go do some ridiculous things like fight Rory McDonald. Why not? Champion versus champion, but um, yeah, my money here. I don't know if it is a free rounder, isn't it? I'm sure, unless the championship. No, championship fights are 5. I lied. So yeah, championship fights are 5. So we'll get 5 rounds. Will that go decision or will that be a stoppage? Forget God. I'll go with a knockout. I'll go with a late knockout though, like third and fourth round. Yeah, third and fourth round knockout for Gegard. I can see that happening. To be fair, so yeah, there's a prediction there. And yeah, that really wraps up the whole Bellator and UFC previews for this weekend. And now on to the news, and a couple pieces of news to talk about first. First things first, for UFC 227, which is the LA card, which is also got the Dillashaw Garbrandt rematch on. We've got Betch Correa going against. I'm really gonna struggle to say this girl's name. Alreen Aldanda. Don't really know much about this Alnanda girl. She's 8 wins and 4 losses. Obviously, I know who Betch Correa is after her getting her ass beat by Ronda Rousey and numerous others. Where do I see that fight going? Don't really know. I know Betch Correa is a pretty decent fighter, to be fair. She just has never been on the level of the Holmes, the Tates, the Rouseys. So, that's that. But pretty decent fight to add to that already stacked LA card. What else do we have? And then we had the potential talkings of a Fabricio Werdum versus Alexei Oleinik fight, targeted for UFC Fight Night in Moscow, which got announced for September the 15th. Everyone was buzzing when it got announced for September, because the rumours are that Khabib will be ready to fight back in September, and Conor's looking to get back in September, and then obviously this got announced in Moscow. But it is a fight night, so obviously they'd never have Conor McGregor versus Khabib, the biggest fight in UFC history. It will be the biggest fight in UFC history without a doubt, especially with the whole Dolly incident. That's just more attraction and more another way to sell the fight, really. It is if it needed selling anymore, but that's how it is. So yeah, that was targeted to be the main event for this Moscow fight, or Moscow card, but like a day later, Fabricio Werdum got notified of a potential anti-doping violation by USADA, which was I believe it was a violation stemming from an out-of-competition sample, which was collected on April 25th, 2018. What does this mean? It means that fight probably won't go ahead, purely because this it is only investigation. He hasn't been charged with anything. I don't know exactly what they found. I couldn't find it anywhere what he got actually found of. But anti-doping, meaning that it wasn't like recreational drugs, I don't believe, or something like that. It would have been something that they believe is performance enhancing. So for them to get just it's just a notification. So obviously the investigation still needs to happen, but most likely then not, unless he's found not guilty pretty early on. That fight against Alexei Olenek probably won't happen. They'll probably just find someone else for Alexei Olenek, or whack Volkov on there, another heavyweight, Russian heavyweight who's just on a blitz, potential title shot contender. After his last win against, I can't remember their name, but he had a big win recently. Oh, against Stefan Struve, sorry. So he could be potentially fight one more fight and he'll be ready for the title. So they'll probably look to put him on there. But next piece of news, I reported in the, I want to say it was like on the second episode of the podcast where we spoke about Luke Rockhold and Alexander Gustafsson was almost penciled in for UFC 227, which again LA card in August. But on Instagram later, in the week, Luke Rockhold showed a video of a disgusting gash in his shin. It was just fucking disgusting, man. It was proper deep. You can see the bone and everything. It was a pretty terrible cut, man. A pretty harsh cut. So he's probably looking to get delayed till October at the earliest. So unless Gustafsson's willing to wait, who knows what's gonna happen with there. But that would have been a fucking that LA card would have been phenomenal with that fight on there. But it seems like Luke Rockhold just loves getting in little injuries. It's always his knee, his leg, his toe, his fucking gash here, cut here, whatever. But yeah. So Luke Rockhold out till October, which is just frustrating because I would have loved this in that fight. But if it means we've got to wait for it, we've got to wait for it. But let's hope Gustafsson just waits for that fight. Next piece of news I want to talk about is obviously the whole thing when I was talking about earlier with the Roy Nelson and Mirko Cro Cop fight that was planned to happen this weekend, this Friday. Due to it was going to be a fight to see whoever wins will become an alternate in the World Heavyweight Grand Prix that they're having in Bellator. So if anyone was to get injured, these guys will be able to come up and come back into the competition and imagine having that if Cro Cop had a fought and potentially beat Roy Nelson. Someone getting injured and Cro Cop coming in. Imagine if Chael Sonnen got injured and we could have got Fedor Emelianenko versus Cro Cop. Like fucking hell, that was just, oh god. Anyway, but no. Even though he lost to Matt Mitrione in the first round, Roy Nelson is officially the default for the World Heavyweight Grand Prix. Just due to default, just due to Cro Cop getting injured and he's just the next person to go for. And obviously, it is always important to talk about this because the last person that, the last time Scott Coker or there even was a heavyweight Grand Prix, a small unknown fighter came in as a replacement, as an alternate, known as Daniel Cormier, and went on to go win the whole tournament. So you never know about those things. But next piece of news I want to talk about is fucking pretty exciting. So there is big talks about Ally Aquinta looking to fight Justin Gaethje in either August, so being on that Staples card, or in September. Holy shit and balls, oh my god, yes, I want that fight. I want that fight right now. Ally Aquinta versus Justin Gaethje. Oh yes, please. A win-win for both fighters, really. Ally Aquinta wins that fight. He's up there in the biggest names in the division, in an already stacked division. But that'll get Ally Aquinta's name in the top 5, and get people talking about him for a couple more wins under his belt and looking at a title shot potentially. You never know. Justin Gaethje, coming off 2 losses now, needs a winnable fight. This is a winnable fight for him. No disrespect to Al. Al was a fantastic fighter, as we saw in that Khabib fight. So, fucking hell, just imagine this fight, it'd be phenomenal. Um, yeah, I'd love to see that fight. Of course, I would. Um, Next and last piece of news I do want to talk about, hence why I kind of delayed this podcast so late this week. I really do apologize, but it was a bit of a slow news week, and then this came out of nowhere. Um, so obviously, last episode I spoke about the whole ESPN Plus and that was only like for some events, the whole UFC and ESPN thing, and it was only going to be on ESPN Plus and not on their mainstream stuff. But it officially came out on May 23rd. It was the official announcement of UFC going 100% with ESPN. There is no more Fox. That is it now. It is 100% all ESPN. That is going to be the new home of UFC. And we had some new details coming out, which I'm going to break down now. It's fantastic. So, just to clarify, some of the things that we have about. So this is all confirmed. This is how it's going to be as of 2019. So at the start of next year. So it is going to be, the overall package is over 5 years and it's worth $1.5 billion, which is fucking ridiculous. This is a $300 million per year deal. So this is split 150 for the TV rights and 150 for the cards streamed on ESPN Plus, which is a little known fact that it is more than double what Fox is currently paying for the final year of its broadcast rights for UFC currently, which is just mad. The UFC will still control the production, even though it is on ESPN. It's literally going to look the same. Well, wherever you see Fox, it'll just say ESPN. Other than that, it's the same. There'll be no changes there. So, the total number of annual UFC events will be 42. So, with 32 of the 42 cards, main cards, either going to be on the ESPN Plus or UFC. So, which, is ridiculous because, that's in 2017 there was 39, and in 2015 and 16 there was 41. So, going up. A lot of people are hoping with the whole TV rights thing that we're gonna get a lack of pay-per-views and less UFC, because it's so hard to get stars built up and people get excited for UFC when there's one every weekend. So you have a fight and then the next week you're busy previewing the next week of UFC. You ain't even had a chance to reflect on the fights that have just happened. So, and those fights don't get their due course and due publicity because everyone's worrying about next week's fights. So that's a shame, to see so many UFC events. I was personally one of the people that would have loved to have seen 6 pay-per-views a year. One every 2 months, which would be fantastic. Be able to really. I remember, was it the UFC 223, and even though that was an amazing card itself, and we had the potential of Ferguson Khabib, which is one of the most anticipated fights, and still is one of the most anticipated fights the UFC could probably put on. That everyone was buzzing because UFC took a 2 to 3 week break, I believe, and even I, my person, was like, "Fucking hell, I need some UFC." I'm so used to having it every week. I need it now. I need it. But again, it's getting to that stage now where we're getting it every other week, and it's just like, oh, because you get cards like, for example, this UFC Liverpool card. For example, there's three big names on there. 2 of them in the main event and 1 in the co-main event. The rest of the card is terrible compared to what what there should be, and I just feel like the less cards, the bigger the cards could be, and just I don't know, man. It's just like, fucking hell. Do I really want to watch? I sometimes even barely watch the main events. Last paper I didn't even bother making a podcast last week because it was only worth breaking down one fight, Maya versus Usman, is that it? Not even worth it, man. So whatever, but 20 Fight Night cards will be aired on ESPN Plus, while 10 will be broadcast on ESPN. So That's like basically saying almost the 10 on ESPN, like, yeah, UFC on Fox. You know how not on FS1, but you know how you have the Fox cards, which are normally bigger. Sometimes they're not, but they tend to be that bigger. Um, Dana White contender series will be on ESPN Plus starting June 2017. All ESPN Fight Night Premier League cards will be streamed on ESPN Plus, which again is the same. Um, Pay-per-view prices will not be reduced, and ESPN networks will televise the UFC prelims just like they do on FS1, FS1 and FS2 pay-per-view prelims like they do now. It's just going to be ESPN instead. It really is the same. Fight Pass isn't going anywhere, and also you're going to have the Ariel Helwani and Chael Sonnen show. So that'll be again another bonus, but that's just something added on extra. So yeah, that's really it. I'm looking forward to this ESPN. Um, just for the fact that it's a bigger name and bigger sporting name and company. Look, Fox Sports is fairly big, but when you think of sports, and especially in America, you do think of ESPN. That's the big brand that really pumps out, and for UFC to be under ESPN is going to be massive. It just means more eyes on there. It means, they'll be speaking about UFC a bit more on SportsCenter, not just when Conor McGregor fights and GSP fights. Hopefully they'll be talking about it every week, and they probably will have to because they'll be having the fight cards, on the weekend. So that means that, more people get into the fight, which is fantastic. It's all good stuff, all good stuff, all good stuff. But yeah, that's that. And that wraps up the fourth episode. I feel like I've been talking for ages, such a long podcast. But yeah, that wraps up the fourth episode of the... I need to take a break. The MMA Take Podcast, episode 4. And thank you all for joining me as I preview UFC Fight Night Liverpool and Bellator 200 and talk about the news, the craziness that is MMA. This has been episode 4 of the MMA Take Podcast. I've just said that like 2 seconds ago. I want to thank you all for joining me, and I'll catch you on next time. And if you've lasted this long, congratulations. I'm looking to do a bonus episode very soon on the weekend, hopefully, discussing the World MMA Awards show of 2018. So picking my who I deserve, who wins, who's been nominated, who I deserve, who's to win, and stuff like that. So there'll be a bonus podcast. It will be number 5, but it's a bonus one. You never normally get 2 in a week. So yeah, look forward to that. Either on the YouTube channel or wherever. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Get involved in the conversation. Shout me a tweet at the MMA Take. And yeah, I thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on next time. Cheers.